All right, greetings and welcome, my friend, yet again for the next episode here of the Red Delta Project podcast live feed Q&A. I'm your humble host, Matt Schifferle, with another episode to hear to help you be fit, live free, breaking free of the diet and exercise rat race. And the topic of today's episode is explaining why diet and exercise frameworks can work so much more or so much better than strict regimented plans when it comes to your diet plans, your exercise plans, and so on. And this is highlighting a little bit of a crossroads that a lot of people face when it comes to fitness, and also helps to relieve a lot of stress on body, mind, and lifestyle. And here's the deal, is that a lot of the rhetoric in our fitness culture that tries to sell you on goods and services and plans will try to convince you that you cannot possibly succeed unless you have the perfect diet and exercise plan. The terms like maximizing and optimizing and everything is down to the detail. I've noticed that a lot of times when copy editing in YouTube videos, titles, even stuff I've tried, is things that promise a plan spelled out to the letter, the exact number of repetitions you need to do, the exact amount of calories you need to consume, the exact amount of protein that you need to have. And this is extremely enticing to our primitive lizard brains, because when we find someone who is offering us the perfect plan with everything spelled out, that is like a promise of success, and it is the promise of control, because that's ultimately what we often come into fitness for. Is we don't actually want to lose weight or build muscle or improve our health. We just want control over our weight, over our aesthetics, and over our health. So when we get enticed by the salesmanship of saying, I will give you the exact plan in order to get you and guarantee results, well, of course, we're going to hand over our credit card numbers and just say, oh, yes, Obi-Wan Kenobi, please give me exactly what I need to do. But there are a lot of problems with this. The first of which is that most of the time, these plans are based largely on complete guesswork. Like, I can tell you, I want you to eat exactly 2.5 eggs every third morning of the week before 7:36 a.m., as long as you're living in the Northern Hemisphere during daylight savings time. Okay? I mean, I know I'm kind of giving you a little satire here, but that's what these plans are all about. It's all about exact, precise recommendations, because it gives not control, my friends, but the illusion of control. Everything I said sounds very important when it really isn't. And we learned this a lot in the courses that I would study in school. I took a course in college, a diet and exercise for obesity and weight control specifically. And we would look at successful diet and exercise weight control, well, let's just call it what they were, scams from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. And the more precise the instructions were, the more convincing they were, even though they were just complete BS. And one of the things that came to mind was there was this one plan where the person selling the plan convinced everyone, I want you to wear latex gloves every time you go grocery shopping. That way, the chemicals and the nutrients on the produce that you handle can't leach into your skin and mess up your hormone cycles and stuff. Complete BS. There's no scientific validity to it at all. There's nothing proving that it's even in the slightest bit an influence. And yet people love this, because you put on those gloves, it feels like you're taking control over your fate, which you totally aren't. So a lot of times these plans are based on nothing substantial, nothing scientific, and pure guesswork. Even if it's a good idea, like I want you to drink 8 glasses of water a day, that's not based on anything objective at all. I'm just making up a number or just something based on a shred of science that kind of just sounds good, and it's probably not a bad thing to recommend. But does it have any validity to it? No, because I don't know you. I don't know what you need. I don't know what is best for you. In those same nutrition courses that I studied in college, one of the things that got hammered into us from day one was, unless you know specifically what someone's diet and lifestyle habits are, you have absolutely zero business giving them a detailed plan at all. Because whatever you give is going to be just guesswork. You might as well program your diet and exercise habits off of a Ouija board and a magic 8-ball. It's pretty much about the same thing, but it sells like hotcakes. And remember, a lot of ideas in our fitness culture are not the ones that are scientifically valid. It's the ones that sell, because things that sell grow. So that's the first problem, is that it gives the illusion of control, and a lot of times we will fall for the illusions rather than actual control. In fact, much of the time, a plan, the more detailed it is, and this is beyond fitness, this is a lot of ideologies and dogmas in the world, will actually convince you to sacrifice and give up your personal self-control over obedience to the plan. You hear this a lot in ideologies where it's like, oh, you're afraid of poverty, you're afraid of getting fat, you're afraid of illness, you're afraid of losing gains, you're afraid of whatever, right? If I can convince you to be afraid of something, now I can sell you a system that doesn't actually give you any control or doesn't bring you any benefit, but it can convince you to give me your power. It gives me your money. It gives me your attention and your energy. And this is, again, not just fitness. This is politics. This is economics. This is a lot of things in the world as it is. And I'm not saying they're all trying to scam you. Sometimes they've drunk their own Kool-Aid on why this works. But a lot of times, the more detailed you get into your plans for diet and exercise, the less control you're going to have. Because it's often about give the expert the control, give the diet your control, give the workout plan your control. Don't make decisions for yourself. Oh no, we can't have that. I don't want you to actually have any sort of discipline. I want you to be obedient. But that's another thing that goes around these sorts of things, is that a lot of the rhetoric around this is trying to convince you that, oh, no. If you're obedient and do as I say and you follow the plan, that's discipline. That's the idea that goes around there. Oh, you don't want to follow the plan? You don't want to get up at 6 a.m.? You don't want to do 1,000 push-ups a day? You don't want to give up chocolate? You don't want to give up coffee? You don't want to do whatever I need you to do? Well, if you don't, that proves you're weak. That proves you have a moral ineptitude. And therefore, you get to reclaim your masculinity, reclaim your value as a human being, reclaim your power over yourself by, oh no, don't think for yourself. Don't actually have discipline. Do as I say. Be obedient. Again, once you are aware of this pattern, you see it everywhere in modern day society. Do as I say, do as I tell you, and that means you get to pretend that you're strong and masculine and obedient and disciplined and everything, when the reality is you're not doing things for yourself, you're not taking control, you're not independent, and you're giving me your control and power. And that's the bait and switch that often happens with these sorts of things. Because ultimately, your success in life and lifting is not about following a plan. It's about achieving fundamental objectives. Are you in a calorie deficit if you want to lose body fat? Are you challenging your work capacity in your workouts if you want to stimulate muscle growth? Are you sufficiently supporting your nutritional needs or satisfying your appetites if you want to have a healthy diet? Those are the things that actually determine your success, not whether or not you follow any particular diet or exercise plan. And that's not to say I'm not poo-pooing these plans. I'm not saying don't follow the plans. By all means, please adopt the plans, 100%, especially if you're a beginner. But there is a very big difference between I'm going to follow this plan no matter what, even if I'm breaking myself down, even though it's compromising the quality of my life, even though it may even be compromising the very results that I'm after, I'm going to force myself to do it. And that is what I'm saying. No. Instead, follow the plan, get your feedback and your information. Because you know what really produces results? That feedback. Say, okay, I tried this for 6 weeks. It worked in these ways. I'm going to keep that. It didn't work in these other ways. I'm going to change that. Therein lies your power. Therein lies your discipline. Therein lies your independence. By looking at the plan and saying, I am going to change it as I see fit. That's discipline. And don't let anybody say, well, if you're eating white rice, you're no longer on a paleo diet. Therefore, you're not living according to our ancestors. And so what? Doesn't matter. Again, that's the ideology. That's the dogmatic rhetoric that they're trying to sell you on. It has no basis in truth or objective reality. If you eat white rice or whole grain breads, you look better, you feel better, there's less stress, less food noise, less anxiety, less guilt, and you generally are just better off, then you just do that. Because better results are better. Better outcomes are better. Less stress is better. Less, and this is a lot of the other rhetoric of you've got to follow the plan. Oh, you feel like crap? Oh, you've got guilt about eating something? Oh, you have food anxiety and food noise? Oh, your energy level is low during workouts? Oh, no, take that as a badge of honor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the worse you feel, then that means you're doing good and you're disciplined and you're a real man and all that kind of nonsense out there. It's like, no, better is better. Feel better, look better, perform better. And if you can do it with less stress on body, mind, and lifestyle, you're winning. It's that simple. And chances are very good, no plan will ever get you there entirely. Because especially if you've got big things to accomplish, no plan is ever meant to get you the end result that you're after. It's not going to get you from A to Z. It's merely going to get you from A to B. And then once you get to B, that plan is no longer going to get you from B to C. It's that old saying that the plans and the strategies and the methods that got you to where you are today probably aren't going to be enough to get you to where you want to go. You have to keep changing and evolving and developing in order to keep making progress. Again, in life and lifting. Right? My career as a fitness coach has gone through many evolutions, many different approaches and things that I've done. Because in order to keep moving forward, I had to change what I did, how I approached things. But the enticement of a plan is that I'm going to find a plan, it's going to be perfect, it's going to be optimized, and it's going to be the thing I marry myself to for the rest of my life. I call it the Cinderella paradox, or the fairy tale ending. Like, oh, I found the workout plan and I lived happily ever after, rode off into the sunset and no more problems ever. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. We have to keep evolving. It's like, oh yeah, I did this type of exercise and training for 5 years and it was great. But then after that, in order to keep going along where I wanted to go, or my goals maybe changed a little bit, now I changed it up and I did this other type of plan. And you see that all the time. In fact, most of the time when you find individuals who achieve a substantial amount of progress, they never did it on any particular single plan, diet or exercise, that got them from A to Z, from where they are. They're like, I did this for a while, and then I changed and I did this. And then that was working, so I modified it. And then after that, I realized the modification was better, so I did more of this. And before you know it, they went from one type of training to another. They went from vegan to paleo to omnivore to intuitive eating and stuff like that. And a lot of times, this is not the rhetoric in our fitness culture that's portrayed as being successful. They are supposed to stick to the plan. And no matter what, like never divorce it kind of thing. And the fact is that rarely produces the long-term results that people are after. So instead of a plan that we want, is instead using frameworks. Frameworks give you power. Frameworks give you control. Frameworks give you freedom and independence. Frameworks also make sure you're always on track and moving towards your goals. They don't tell you exactly what to do, and that's on purpose. A lot of people, when they come to a framework expecting a plan, they'll say, yeah, but I don't feel like I'm in control because you're not telling me every little tiny detail of what I need to do. Let me give you an example. Like, one of the more common frameworks that we have here at Red Delta Project for diet is your 3P strategy. Okay? Every meal, observe your 3Ps. Protein, plant, portions. Okay? 3 things. By far, those 3 things will largely just take care of everything you will ever need when it comes to diet and nutrition, to a large degree. You're always filling in the gaps. There's always, little nuances that you can do. But seriously, if you just did that, you don't need to worry about diets anymore. You don't need to worry about weight control anymore. You get the 3 Ps pretty much dialed in, and you've got the whole nutrition and dietary thing just largely done, solved. Go and live your life. You don't need to worry about any more of the fad diets. You don't need to worry about supplements. You don't need to worry about 100 other things where you've one of those individuals who's got like 100 different diet books in their library and they're still trying to figure out how to lose body fat and stuff like that. It's like those three things: plant, protein, portions of each component of the meal and the meal as a whole. That doesn't mean only protein and plant. That means start with protein source, add a plant source, whatever you want, and then you can add in whatever else you want. Potatoes, French fries, rice, beans, grains, beer, just whatever else is making up that last little bit in the meal. And then you have the whole meal, of course, in control. So you're eating enough to just satisfy, but you're not overeating. That, by and large, will take care of you. But you notice I'm not delving into a lot of the details that people get obsessed with in our fitness culture. I'm not talking about whole grains versus refined. I'm not talking about processed or unprocessed foods. I'm not talking about animal versus plant proteins. I'm not talking about macronutrient ratios. I'm not talking about seed oils. I'm not talking about saturated fat. I'm not talking about carbs. I'm not talking about 100 other things that everybody says you need to fixate on. And there's a good reason for that, because largely you just don't need to. You just don't need it. Because that's what ends up happening with most of these plans, is that they get more and more tiny details, nuanced on their recommendations. And every single step, they're getting into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller influences. And that's how the fundamental approach to fitness actually works, is recognizing that there is nothing that is ultimately responsible for your results. No food you eat, no exercise you do, no plan you follow is a direct cause and effect from where you are now to where you want to be. If you're looking for it, you're never going to find it, because it just doesn't exist. Now, I know it's easy to fool ourselves into thinking it does. You go out and you start running and you start losing body fat, and you're like, oh, running is the secret for losing body fat. I've done it. We all do this. We take on a habit, we start to see results, and we think we're getting results from that habit. And that's just flat out false. It's not because of the habit. It's because of the influence that habit has on the fundamental process that does govern your results. So in this case, we're talking about losing body fat, adding in running. Does running make you lose fat? No. No exercise does. There's no such thing as fat loss exercise, because nothing you ever do directly tells your body to be leaner. But everything could be considered an influence on your calorie expenditure, because you burn fat and calories doing anything and everything. You don't need a special kind of exercise to do that. But you take up running, okay, you're increasing your rate of calorie expenditure. That can have an influence on the fundamental process of caloric exchange, calories in, calories out, that sort of thing. If it should create a negative calorie balance, you're going to start to lose body fat. There you go. Is it because you were running? No. It's because the influence of your calorie expenditure from the running just so happened to get you into a caloric deficit, and that's why you're losing body fat. And this is very important to understand, because when you understand that the running is just an influence, that gives you the power and control to both adopt and discard the running if you so choose. If you love running and it's the best thing and the best part of your day, and you love how it feels and it's an easy way for you to increase your calorie expenditure, great. But if you also came to me and said, I hate running, I don't want to do it, it's not what I want to do, great. You don't have to do it. And that's what frameworks do, is they give you the power of choice. They give you control to say, oh, you like this? You like that? Great. Does it fit the framework? Yeah. Okay. So for example, the 3P strategy, going back to that, right? Protein. I don't want to eat animal products. I don't want to contribute to the, slaughterhouses and all that sort of thing. Or I don't want to eat, pork because of religious reasons or whatever. Great. Okay. Don't do it then. Don't do it. There's no reason you need to. So fit the framework however you like. It's like, oh, I love, beans and rice kind of proteins, lentils, tempeh, that sort of thing. It's like, great. Is that protein source? Yes. Now you could get lost in the nuances online of like, is it a quality protein? Is it bioavailable? Blah, 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 blah. Noise, debate. Largely a complete waste of time. Does not matter. Is it fitting the framework? Okay, 3Ps. Is it protein source? Yes. Okay, good. Are you getting a plant source? And yeah, that's plants, but you can also add in some other things. Great. And are you eating enough in addition to that to satisfy your hunger and your caloric needs, metabolic support, all that? Yeah. Okay, good. You're done. Case closed. You're finished. You got it fixed. You've got it solved. You have the whole diet thing largely solved. Move on with your life. You don't need to worry about it anymore. And that's what frameworks do, is they give you the ability to essentially get the boxes checked that you need to check off, and to do it your own way, but to also just feel like, yeah, this is a relatively easy thing for me to do. And to say, yeah, I've got it largely taken care of. Done. Our fitness culture loves to give a lot of rhetoric towards the idea that, diet and exercise and fitness needs to be a lifestyle, that it should take over your life, that it should be this lifelong endeavor of constant striving to make something happen. You see this a lot in fat loss spaces, where you'll find individuals who've been struggling to lose weight for decades, and they've got books and seminars and all these gadgets and all these approaches, and they've spent so much time and energy on it that they've basically adopted this belief that that's how life is. If you want to be lean, you have to give a significant portion of your resources and your attention towards doing it. And yeah, that can work to achieve the result, but ultimately, especially in fitness, for the majority of people, the real success is not losing the weight. It's basically saying, yeah, I lost the weight and now I don't need to worry about it anymore. I don't need to worry about what I eat. I don't need to worry about how many calories are in a cannoli. I don't need to worry about how many calories or whether I'm in zone 2 if I'm out for a run or anything like that. Like, I just don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. That's the real success. That's the success I've enjoyed over the past 15 years or so. It's like, to me, this whole diet and exercise thing is largely just done and taken care of. It's not a lifestyle. It's not something that I fixate on. Of course, it's my career, so it takes up a good portion of my day, but pull-ups are nothing more than a means to an end. It's no different than using a screwdriver that I got in my junk drawer to hang up a painting. It's a tool, it serves a purpose, and if I don't need to tackle that thing in that moment, I just don't care. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to do research. I don't need to do anything beyond that. It's done, taken care of. See you later. And that's what frameworks give you, is they give you a structure to keep you in the right direction, so you're always on track and you're always going towards your goals that you want to achieve and maintain, and they give you complete freedom to do it however you want. So you can adapt, you can change, you can modify, you can have control, more control. You can have discipline. You can have the freedom and independence. It's not this scenario in our fitness culture where it's like, well, if you want control over your results, you have to be obedient to the plan. And if you give up the plan, then you can't get that result. And this is the tug of war that a lot of people follow with the yo-yo effect, particularly things like fad diets and stuff like that. But the fact is, frameworks allow you to change it however you want. If you want to work out for 10 minutes, work out for 10 minutes. If you want to work out in the park with a kettlebell and a pull-up bar, do that. There are very few rules in fitness that you actually have to follow. But a lot of the plans will kind of position themselves as, this is something you have to do if you want to lose weight. You have to avoid all processed foods. You have to make sure you're in zone 2 cardio. You have to do whatever, right? And the fact of the matter is, these rules can certainly be helpful. There's nothing wrong with them on face value, but do you have to follow them? And the answer to that is almost never. Good question here, coming on in. Saying, love my life. Saying, will 1 rep and isometric holds for a few seconds a day help maintain muscle? Possibly. It depends on how well you're achieving your objective. So this is why frameworks and understanding your objective is always important, is because When you know what your objective is, then you can identify whether or not any plan is going to be helpful for you. So, case in point, one rep. So, are you talking about one dynamic repetition and then an isometric hold, or one hold? I'm a little fuzzy on this myself because my brain does that, interprets things 20 different ways. But as long as you are challenging your work capacity of the muscle to some degree, meaning you're really working the muscle, okay, and okay, yeah, muscle's pretty good and tired. If you're doing that with that plan, then yeah, it certainly will maintain muscle. For sure. Will it maintain as much muscle as you have? I don't know. That's one of the things I'm not sure of is, yes, we need to challenge our work capacity to build or maintain muscle, but I don't know if the degree you're challenging that capacity is relative to how much muscle you have and can build. My instinct says yes. I haven't seen any research on it, but if you are doing, because everything always does something, you're always creating a stimulus no matter how you train. It's just the degree of the stimulus, how strong that stimulus is. If you're really pushing it here, I love my life, you probably can do a lot more than you think. A lot more than you think, because minimum effective dose for a stimulus in training is a lot lower than we often believe. So yeah, I would say tentatively, yes, probably. And it's probably good for at least maintaining also strength. So strength and muscle are two different objectives, but they're heavily correlated, of course. Strength is how much tension is in the muscle. Muscle size is work capacity. So it's how much tension coupled with endurance of how long it's there to challenge the stamina of the muscle, if you will. So that's why the scientific literature has clearly shown that you can maintain strength a lot easier than you can maintain muscle, because all you got to do is tense the muscle to some degree, and even if it's a tiny bit, that can go a long way at improving your strength. But muscle requires a bit more volume. So I would say if you want to hedge your bets, give yourself a little bit more volume to make sure you're kind of burning the muscles out a little bit more. You're probably going to stand a better chance of maintaining that muscle. That's what I'm thinking off the top of my head. But I'd love to hear more about this experiment that you're going on when you're doing things. My man Joseph coming on in saying, Matt, I keep the same diet that I can adjust as I like. My workouts has the same exercises. I just change the variations. Yep, I'm using 1 rep range. That is my framework. Yeah. So you're always free to create your own frameworks. It's based on your experience and stuff. And Joseph here is echoing an experience that I have learned the hard way. A lot of people learn this the hard way, is that a lot of times when we change things up, it's not about doing different things. It's about doing the same things differently. So it's the same foods, same exercises, but just changing the variation, using different grips on pull-ups, for example. Or he could be eating the same foods, but he's changing portions on that sort of thing. So there's a lot of power, again, with a framework of this is what I do, and then I change these variables. It's just like a musician in the recording studio. And they got the boards with all the switches and sliders on it. And it's like, it doesn't sound right. And then they just change all the slides all over the place. And they're just, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, no, give me a little more bass on, mic number 3 kind of thing. And just get more precise about that sort of thing. That's how you get things dialed in. It's also how you learn how to adjust things that are going to be a lot better. A lot better. And it takes time. It takes practice. Fitness is a skill. You're learning to eat right for yourself and what exercises and what workouts are best for you. That comes with practice. It's a skill. You have to learn from your feedback. You have to look at what you're doing and being like, oh, this worked better for me, but not that. Okay, so I'm going to follow more along that lines. It takes time, but that doesn't mean you have to wait 10 years before things work. It just means it's a constant growth and progress. And that makes it fun because one of the things that a lot of times this happily ever after idea has is that, once I find the perfect diet and exercise program, then I'm going to be set and then I'm going to be happy ever after. That's kind of like these individuals who are like, oh, I'm going to win the lottery, or I'm going to sell my business for $100 million. Then I'm never going to have to work ever again. And I'll be very, very happy with that. So they reach that point where they're like, great, I'm done. I'm never going to work ever again. And like in 2 weeks, they're like, okay, I'm starting a new business. People are like, what? Why? You've got the golden ticket. And they're like, I am so bored. I am so unhappy and miserable, because it's only natural for us to be happy with progress when we're working on something, when we have something we're striving for. And when we're like, okay, I'm 100% done, nothing more to figure out, like I was talking about earlier, that leads to either complete boredom and complacency if you don't have anything else to work on, or you just get restless from it. Now, in my case, like I was saying, like diet, done, finished, complete, kind of thing. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm still not learning, about things that I feel better with and what I do a little bit more well with certain foods and things. I'm always improving and always learning and stuff what's best for me. But that doesn't mean I'm like, oh, I don't know how to eat well for health and manage body fat and everything like that. It's like I've got it largely taken care of. I'm wearing pants right now that I got for Christmas. And when I put them on, I was out in the Northeast visiting girlfriend, friends, and family. Like I put on a little bit of, bloat and some size for Christmas. And, I put them on. I'm like, these are kind of tight. Like they're almost a little uncomfortable kind of thing. Like I sit down, I'm like, oof. And if for a while, I was like, oh man, I was like, no, I'm just a little fatter because it's the holidays. I'm eating a lot more. I'm drinking a lot more. Like, yeah, of course, a little fatter. Got it. And then I came home and I was like, do I need a diet plan? No. Do I need a weight loss plan? No. Do I need to do anything special? No. I know how to do this. I got this handled. And here I am, end of January, pants fit fine. Did I do anything drastic? No. Did I do anything crazy, diet and exercise? No. I know how to handle it. I got it covered. I got it taken care of because I follow my framework, 3 Ps. That's it. A little bit of calorie hacking. That's another framework here at RDP. You just take a period of time, drastically cut back on your rate of caloric intake. It can be fasting, like some of you have mentioned. I don't like fasting, so I just ate less. And here I am, very comfortable in the pants that I got. Very, very good. So I addressed this last time, but let me do it again, saying why you never blew up on YouTube, even though you're a fitness creator. Fact of the matter is, like, success is always by the minority. It's funny how success largely gets I wouldn't say perverted, but blown out of shape. Like we think that success in social media means millions of followers and everyone knows your name and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is 90% of people on YouTube never achieve more than a few hundred views per video. I saw that statistic somewhere. Who knows if it's really true or not, but most of my videos get at least a few thousand views. So by that metric, I'm in the top 10% of YouTube. Just that. Am I Mr. Beast? No. But, that's how low the bar is. It's the same thing in the financial world. How much money do you need to make every year to be a 1%er? People are like, oh, you got to be a multi-billionaire and making million. No, you need to make about $400,000 a year, which is a lot of money. Absolutely. But, a lot of people think 400,000 is not like, Jeff Bezos kind of money. It's like, yeah, because the bar is that low. So by many metrics, depending on how you're quantifying it, I am doing very well on YouTube, because most people who start YouTube channels never get beyond 10 videos, and those videos never get beyond a handful of views. That's the majority of people. The majority of people who go to write a book never finish the book. I've written over a dozen books. Are they bestsellers? No. Are they, helping me buy a Ferrari? No. But the fact that I've even completed a book means that I'm one of the best authors on the planet, just because I've completed it. That's a weird way of looking at it. We've got a pull-up contest going on at work right now. And a lot of folks who I'm mentoring, they're like, I only can get 3 pull-ups. Like, you do realize that puts you in the top 10% of strength for the planet. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, the majority of people can't do a pull-up. So by being able to do one pull-up, you're stronger than over 50% of the human beings on Earth. You're in the top 50% with one rep. Of those who can do one rep, most of them can't do three. So the fact that you can do three, you're already in the top like 20% or whatever. So we've got to keep things into perspective. But I know what you're asking. How come I've never gotten much bigger? Simple. I suck at marketing. I'm not a very good marketer. You know, I'm not out there with my shirt off and everything like that because my pasty ass skin is not going to win me any awards anytime soon. I got a farmer tan that goes all the way to the bone. And the other thing is, you know, in business and social media, no one knows what's going to hit. No one knows. We get some inklings and stuff, but gosh, how many times have authors and filmmakers and musicians come out with something that everybody told them is going to be terrible, and it's amazing? And how many times have studios and corporations put huge money behind someone who was going to be the next big thing, and it flops? The fact is, no one knows what's going to work with 100% certainty. That's why we need frameworks in fitness. Do you know what plan is going to work? No. Do you know what's going to work best for you? Absolutely not. It's impossible to have that crystal ball. You're just never going to know. We can hedge our bets one way or the other, but even the most legendary soothsayers, like the Warren Buffetts of the world, are wrong, and they lose millions of dollars overnight on a stock pick. We're all going to be wrong more than we're going to be right. And because of that, most of us are always going to fail by conventional metrics. But you only need to be right once. And I just haven't had that out of break hit just yet. But, you know, that's the way it works. Joseph coming back saying, Matt, me and my sister are having homemade chicken and veggies. All right. Stir fry veggie fried rice. Boy, that sounds good. That sounds really good right there. Well done, Joseph. So yeah, there's your 3P framework. Protein, chicken. Plants. Yeah, you got your veggies, you know, vegetables, stir-fried veggie fried rice. You got some vegetables in there as well. And then you make up the rest with the rice and the oils and the spices and everything like that. So see, 3Ps. And that's why 3P is a framework that works. You eat whatever you want. You can use whatever foods you like. When I started to really develop the 3P framework, the thing that really convinced me I was onto something was I was driving cross country many years ago, and I got it to work at a Waffle House. And I was like, man, you know your dietary framework is solid as hell if you can get it to work in a Waffle House. I got my protein because I had eggs. I got my plants, side a dish of fruit and everything, and portion. I just ate enough of that, and I had a couple of waffles, rounded things out. Fun, satisfying, good meal. It's like, you know, you've got a good framework if it can take your best days, because there you go. That's what you're looking for, is resilience. Because when your perfect plan only works under very specific, perfect conditions, it's not going to work because you're not going to have those perfect conditions most of the time. Case in point, like we're talking about success on YouTube. Imagine if I had a business plan where I was like, in order for me to be successful on YouTube, I need 100,000 views on every single video that I put out. Chances are very good it's not going to work. Very, very good. It's only the top 0.0000001% of creators on YouTube are going to be able to hit those kinds of numbers. You know, and I know we all want to think we're the special cog in the wheel, but the fact is most of us are worse than average. You know, people hate the statistics of it. You know, 50% of the folks out there are worse than average. That's how average works, you know, kind of thing. And it's like, so you got a 50% chance of being worse than average, but you have a 50% chance of being better than average. You can look at it that way. There was a professor at some school, I think it was Harvard or something like that, first class. It's like 90% of you will not graduate in the top 10%. And they all lost their minds. And they were all like, no, you're wrong. I'm going to be in that top percent. It's like, you guys need to know how statistics work. It's like, of course you're not going to be in the top 10%, 90% of you, because That's how it works, but everyone thought they were going to be in the top 10%, which of course was an impossibility. So when we're looking at frameworks, we want to have what's going to work on your worst, not necessarily worst days, but your hardest days. What's going to work even though your life isn't perfect? What's going to allow you to still win no matter what? I've been reading the Mini Habits for Exercise by Stephen Guise. I just put a video out there. And the whole idea of a mini habit as a framework is that instead of shooting for an optimal plan that's either out of reach or within reach, but you never go beyond, so it's holding you back either way, you build a habit that is really easy to achieve, like one push-up or include protein and plants at most meals. Relatively easy to achieve. Does that give you a high thing to aspire to? No, it gives you a floor. It gives you a base level that you can always build off of from there. Some days you're going to be able to build higher. Some days you're not going to build as much. That's perfectly fine. But it's so much better to have a floor than a ceiling. Because the ceiling, you're probably never going to reach it most of the time, in which case you're failing most of the time. And if you can reach it, then you only go that high and then you stop. And you're holding yourself back from your true potential. But when you have a floor, you're like, sky's the limit, baby. I'm just going to keep doing this. And that's the framework of double tap training in beautiful strength. There's 4 levels if you count the support chains. So sometimes my workouts are 10 minutes and there are 2 exercises. That's it. Not even 10 minutes. Sometimes they're a full hour in the gym and I'm just crushing myself. What's the difference? Time, energy, and motivation. Sometimes I have more time, more energy, more motivation. So I do more and I get more done and I create a stronger stimulus. But sometimes I don't have as much, but I still get something in. So case in point, earlier when we were asked the question, like, can I do this minimum amount of work and still achieve something? And the answer to that is almost always yes. Something always does something. There's no such thing as an ineffective exercise or workout or even repetition. There was that study that was done where they had subjects literally do a dumbbell curl, and they found that even that was effective for eliciting a stimulus and adaptation. It wasn't much, but it did something. But here's the thing, is you want to base it off that floor that you can do a minimum amount, but you don't stay there. If you have more time and energy and motivation to do more, do more. You're better off doing more, 100%. But do you have to always do a ton? No. And therein lies the key, is frameworks give you flexibility and adaptation. They allow you to change according to your circumstances. So when you can do more, you do more. When you want to do more, you do more. When you don't want to do as much, you don't do as much. It gives you that adaptation, so you're always in alignment. You're in alignment with your mental state, your physical state, your lifestyle, your motivation, your resources, and so on. Frameworks give you flexibility. They give you power and autonomy to make decisions that are best for you. But when you have an obedience to a plan or an ideology, you give that up for the sake of the illusion of control that they're promising you. But it is certainly an illusion. Let's see what else I can help you with. Just came home from work. Just want to say thank you. How would you program heavy, light, medium style training with body weight training? Oh, very good. Welcome back from work. I hope you had a good day at work there. So I would just cycle it from each days. Well, let me ask you this more importantly. Is there one of those that's more important for you? Like if you want to focus on strength, do mostly heavy training. If you want to focus more on endurance, do mostly light training. If you want to go for body or for a muscle, then just do it all and just challenge your work capacity. So I would just mix it all up. So let me give you an example here of pull chain work. Okay. So on your heavy day, let's do like a 5x5 for fun. Always fun. So I don't know what you're capable of, but if it were me, I would say 5x5 weighted pull-ups. Okay. Get the dip belt on, weighted pull-ups, 5x5, staying well short of fatigue and failure to the last couple of sets. And that's my heavy day. Medium day, I would do regular pull-ups. I would do 2 sets, double tap training style, many repetitions as I can do. Probably adding weight if I could do 2 solid sets of 20, but usually if I'm really dialing in my technique, I'm in 10 to 12 rep range. So that I would do for my medium day. And then for the light day, I would not do pull-ups, I would do a row. Then double tap training is about changing up your exercises, broader stimulus that way. So I would go with some sort of a row or a single arm row variant where you can get 15 to 20 reps for each session. That's what I would do. One of the big mistakes people make with this, I'll just say, is they make it too close, where it's like, okay, so for heavy, I do 6 to 8 reps. For medium, I do like 8 to 10. And then for higher endurance, I do 10 to 12. No, make it big. Make it big, okay? Heavy, 3 to 5 reps. Medium, 10 to 15 or so. Lighter, 20, 25 reps or so. Make it a big difference. That's double tap training for you. We want to make a noticeable difference. Don't make these tiny little differences. Big difference, big difference. That's the way I would do that. That's the way I would go about doing that type of training progress. And make sure that you have awareness of progressive calisthenics theory and or weighted stuff. My book, Progressive and Weighted Calisthenics. Again, links are all down below, folks. This is the big mistake that people make with bodyweight training, is that they keep doing the same exercises all the time. And they don't do the harder ones and they don't do the easier ones. Fundamentally, that's the same thing as always going in and lifting the exact same weight on a barbell. Bench press 135. 2 years later, 135. 3 years later, 135. Right? That's how most people approach bodyweight training. And that's a mistake, because you want to have adjustments in resistance, and you do that with using different techniques, of course. You probably already know that. I just had to put it out there as a little PSA kind of thing. So frameworks, right? Okay, so let me give you an example here of, bodyweight training progressive style. Now, the framework that I use for this is that most progressive calisthenics approaches are all about shifting body weight between either legs and upper body or your right and your left side. That's how you do that, because fundamentally, calisthenics is just another form of weightlifting. It's no different, or it shouldn't be any different than barbells, dumbbells, machines, sandbags, and everything else. It's the same thing. At least it should be. If it's really different, then we got work to do. But the framework for progressive calisthenics is you just adjust where your weight distribution is between your hands and your feet and your right and your left side. So that gives you a lot of freedom for a lot of different techniques and a lot of different exercises and tools. So let me give you an example. This morning, I was training a friend of mine, and she's been working on lower body training. And so we're doing split squats. And for the past few weeks, she's doing split squats with her back foot on a Bosu ball. Unstable surface requires more weight to be transferred to the front leg. So there's more resistance on that front leg, building strength. Today, we're thinking, okay, do we want to add some weight with dumbbells? So we're just adding weight to the body. But knowing my frameworks, she's like, actually, I'd rather, instead of using the Bosu, let's use one of those like Swiss balls, those inflatable balls. And I'll put my leg on that. Less stability. Less stability on that leg means more weight distribution on the squatting leg. Perfect. Wonderful. She's like, I didn't want to hold the dumbbells, just wanted more weight on that leg. And it worked great. So because of understanding that framework of weight distribution, we were able to use different tools to accomplish the same goal. Because that's always what is most important, is that objective. We're just challenging the strength, how much tension is in the muscle of the lower leg, lower body, squat chain movement. We've got a ton of tools. We got a ton of options to do that. But because she understands my frameworks, we're able to use a different tool that was better for her in that case. And we discovered, yeah, that's better. We're going to do that exercise now. We could have stayed on the Bosu ball and everything. It would have been okay. But instead, we have the flexibility to actually do what's better. Joseph's coming on. Matt, I can find I can eat just about any restaurant and still get a decent meal. I can also work out anywhere with no equipment and still get an effective workout. Absolutely. Freedom, my friends. Freedom. Here's a good way to understand how effective your frameworks are, how versatile they are, is how easily do they break? How confident are you? So my man Joseph, I echo that same thing. Dude, put me in a McDonald's. I'll be able to eat better than most people. Put me in an open field and I can get a better workout than most people will in a gym. Give me anything and I will probably be better off because I've got the frameworks that can withstand anything. However, there was certainly a time in my life where I was like, okay, in order for me to quote, eat right and get a good workout, I need this laundry list of demands to be met. I have to have exactly this equipment in this scenario, in this program, in this routine, with this weekly setup and everything like that. That's what I thought I needed in order to at least stand a chance at getting the results that I wanted. Because I thought every detail mattered like crazy. And again, that's what a lot of plans do, is they hyperfixate on small details that honestly aren't really that important. And that screws you over twice. The first of which is because you're majoring in minor things. So you're putting a lot of effort into small things that don't really matter. So you don't really get that great of results despite spending huge amounts of effort into it, which is not good for your motivation. But it also means that you don't have any wiggle room on what you can do. Like, oh my gosh, the gym is closed. I'm screwed. I can't get a good workout. Oh, I'm ending up at a Waffle House at 3 a.m. while driving cross country. There's no way I can possibly have a satisfying meal here or eat well here and stuff. And that, not even extreme stuff, it's just even little things. I've worked in gyms most of my entire life, and it's crazy how you can get the biggest, toughest, most badass alpha males, in quotes, ever walking into a gym, and you just tell them, "Hey, sorry, man, but that dip machine that you really like is out of order. The bearings are shot in it. We've got a replacement part coming next week," and just watch them crumble, just watch them crack, like like children in the cereal aisle. I was like, oh, my life is over kind of thing. It's like, that's a sign, again, of something like highly meticulous, high maintenance plan that's got to be adhered to perfectly. And it's like, dude, relax. I got 20 other ways we can work your triceps. Chances are I could probably show you a way that's even more effective than what you were doing. But oh no, they don't want to hear it. They got to have exactly that machine at exactly that point in their routine for exactly the right number of sets and reps at the exact, precise, correct tempo with the precise amount of rest period. And heaven help you if someone wants to work in, oh no, kind of thing. High maintenance. And we get that way because, again, we either don't know quite what we're doing, we don't have a reliable framework to work off of, and to be perfectly honest, we're just insecure. And we want these plans to bolster up insecurity about ourselves. Again, coming from a place where I suffered very low self-esteem for most of my life, where I always felt I need things perfect because I don't trust myself to walk on my own. I need the plan to protect me. I need the plan to save me. And this is why a lot of people get into paralysis by analysis or endless amounts of research, in quotes, online, because they're like, I want to figure out the perfect plan so I know for sure exactly what's going to work for me. Of course, you're never going to figure that out because there's a million ideas out there. There's a million opinions, most of which are worthless. Most of the debate doesn't get you anywhere. And most of the good information you're really looking for is going to come from your own experience and taking action and trusting yourself. But if you're like, I'm going to start working out only once I get my plan perfectly dialed in and I know the quote optimal way to do it, you're never going to get there because there's always another level. It's like a fractal. Like, okay, I want to lose weight. Diet is important. Okay, I got to focus on diet. Okay, what part of the diet? Carbohydrates. Okay, what part of carbohydrates? processed or unprocessed carbohydrates. Okay, what part of unprocessed carbohydrates are you fixating on? What kind of sugars are you focusing on? Fructose, glucose, sucrose. Okay, what about the amount you're focusing on? What about the source you're focusing on? What about the glycemic index? And you keep going smaller, 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 smaller. And every step you're taking goes into a smaller influence, which still feels like a big deal, but it usually isn't. And it's smaller, 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 smaller. And by trying to get every detail perfect, you're always looking at more details you need. There's always more work to do. Never mind the fact that most of the details you're looking at now probably have very little influence on your results and probably don't matter very much. Meanwhile, you're also largely ignoring the big stuff. A lot of times this happens where people are like, oh, I'm trying to figure out the perfect speed and tempo to lift at for building muscle. Oh, okay. Well, how often are you doing your workouts? Oh, I haven't been able to consistently work out for 3 years. It's like, dude, if you're not consistently getting fundamental resistance against fundamental movement patterns, trust me, lifting tempo isn't going to do you any good to figure out kind of stuff. And that's what holds a lot of people back. They major in the minor things. They're putting a lot of effort and work into maximizing and optimizing the tiny details that aren't really that important, while they're largely ignoring the stuff that is. And that's, we all make that mistake. I've made it for years myself. A lot of regret, trying to figure out, like I was all about the low fat thing back in the 90s and early 2000s. Got to get that perfectly figured out. The fact was I was completely ignoring things like my hunger, my ability to satisfy cravings, which were far more important than my fat intake. But oh no, I had to try to eliminate every gram of saturated fat from my diet because I thought it was important when in fact it really wasn't. And I was like starving at 11 o'clock at night studying nutrition in dorms. I know, irony for days here. So it's one of those things that we got to just stay focused on the big things. Now, if you want to maximize things, if you're going to the Olympics or you're about to step on stage and you need every little detail as perfect as possible, yes, then it matters. When I was a mountain bike racer, it mattered if I had 17 or 18 PSI in my front tire for a bike race. That did matter. Now that I'm a recreational racer, I just pinch my tire. I'm like, yeah, it's close enough. Let's go. It's like, what's the tire pressure? I don't care. It's pretty good, kind of thing. Because does it really matter at this point? No. If I can shave off 15 seconds off of my climb up Green Mountain, is it going to matter? No. In a race? Yes. For recreational riding, for health and fitness? No, it doesn't matter. And that's hard for people to understand sometimes when you get fixated into optimizing every detail of a perfect plan to overcome your insecurities, because being told it probably doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. It's not important, because there are influencers out there who will be like, you got to get this perfect. Oh, and by the way, you need to buy my program in order to get it perfect. No, you don't. And I know I sound like I got all these books and stuff. Do you need to buy my books? No, of course not. Every bit of information in my books is completely free on my YouTube channel, 100%, or my podcast and stuff. I just write the books because they're an easier way to consume that same information without going through all the videos and stuff. But yeah, you don't need to buy anything. Christo, how's it going? Matt, nice to see you again. Same to you, my friend. Nowadays, every fitness influencer takes the low volume, high intensity approach. From what I remembered, you're one of the first fitness YouTubers that promote low volume. Not even close though. Low volume's been around forever. This is the thing with fitness, is everything that's new is decades old. Like, when keto came out, when people were like, oh, look at this new approach. It's like people have been doing that in the 1800s, I remember reading a book one time, and there was a phrase in there about the modern day food supply and how processed foods are making us sick, and how we need to get back to eating more natural foods and stuff like that. The thing is, that quote came out before the United States was a country. That was like in 1723 or something like that. Like, everything we have now has always been here. It's always been going along. We act like we've got these new scenarios, and they're not at all new and stuff. But the fact is, I actually want to make this very clear. I'm not about at all low volume, high intensity at all. As I just explained, like double tap training has the ability to adapt so it can be both. It can be high volume and low volume. It works both ways because sometimes low volume is better, sometimes high volume is better because it's two hard sets per exercise. But you increase volume by doing more exercises on the same muscle group. And I've got tons of videos. Again, you want to buy my book? Great. I'd love it. Helps to support RDP. It's $10 for the PDF on the link down below for the RDP bookstore. Awesome. But if you don't want, just go on my channel and just search double tap training, and you're going to find tons of videos on it and podcasts and everything, and learn it there. So can it be low volume, high intensity? Absolutely. Can it be higher intensity and actually medium volume? Absolutely. You can do that too. It gives you the ability to adapt because the framework will allow for both. So yeah, I love high intensity, low volume. It's great, but I also like getting more volume as well. Follows up, Crash Metal. Damn cool name there. How would you train to really hit the muscle while staying symmetrically fresh? Oh, sorry, systematically fresh. I'm like symmetrically fresh. What is that? Systematically fresh. So a lot of it depends on what you have available to you. Like right now, for example, I'm feeling pretty darn. I have been on a tear all day. I've gone grocery shopping. I've cleaned my apartment. I've done laundry. I did my Taekwondo patterns. I've done 100 things today. Why? Because I've got a lot of energy today because I got a real good night of sleep. So I can do a ton of work today and still be fresh. Yesterday, though, Friday, I was on death's door. I was not feeling my best. I was just tired and exhausted. It's been a hard week for me. So like 2 sets, and I'd be like, I'm done. So what I would recommend is work with your resources. Again, a framework. So if you came to me and you were like, I am so exhausted, dude. I am so tired. I'd be like, great. What are we trying to do? Build up the upper body. 2 push, 2 pull, go home. That's it. That's all I do. Something rowing, something pushing, maybe horizontal or vertical push and pull. That's it. Good. Go home. That's what I'd do. If you came to me and you were ready to tear down the walls, I'd be like, oh boy, we're going to have some fun. And we do a lot more. But the point is, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on. Live within your means is the point. We hear that in the financial world. You make $1,000, spend 500. Right? What you're asking is basically don't go into debt, energy debt. So live within your means. People don't like that advice, but it's good advice for a reason. But there's 2 lessons with it that you need to observe. 1, live within your means. Leave the gym relatively fresh. Don't drive yourself into the ground. Your workouts are not effective because you exhaust yourself. Push yourself, yes. Create the stimulus you're after, but you're not going to have an effective workout because you're crawling out of the gym. Go after the stimulus that you're after and only do the amount of work that you can before you start to be on the decline. Okay, so that's the first part. The second is increase your means. So living within your means financially is a lot easier when you just make more money. Same thing with energy. It's a lot easier to live within your energy means when you have more energy. Really good sleep. Eat to satisfy. Give up on those stupid diets. If you don't want to follow them, you don't have to. Make sure you're getting plenty of nutritious, wholesome foods. Make sure that your stress levels are relatively low. A few months ago, I got rid of social media on my phone. I still have it on my computer here and everything for when I need to post stuff like what I'm doing now, but I have no social media. I don't even have YouTube on my phone. Made a world of difference in my mental health. World of difference. And every time I tell people that, I always get the same answer. People are like, you don't have social media on your phone? No. Oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, I wish I could do that. Like, there's no law saying you need to be on social media. Like anybody can do that. You know, I promise you're not missing out on anything if you never look at social media. There's nothing important on it. And that was one of the big lessons I learned is that this day in modern age, we're in the attention economy. And the attention economy has convinced you that things that are urgent are more of a priority than things that are actually important. And that's what has changed to a large degree. We prioritize the urgent and sacrifice the important. And that's what a lot of social media does. Case in point, you're at the park and you're having a play date with your kids. What's more important, social media or your kids giving them attention? Well, I'm not a parent. I can't speak for you, but I would probably say your kids, paying attention to your kids. But social media, like all news, is this is so urgent. You need to see this. You need to pay attention to this. No, you don't. I guarantee you, if you never watch social media, you'd never miss out on anything. I'm not saying it's not fun. It doesn't have I've gotten some value out of it over the years, absolutely. But is it important? No. I promise you, you're not going to miss out on anything because it's not important. So don't sacrifice the urgent for the important. Sorry, I misspoke. Sacrifice the urgent, what seems urgent, for the important. Keep the important stuff important. And that's what a framework does, is it keeps your attention on the important stuff, not on the urgent stuff. Because a lot of stuff in the world of fitness and media and social media and stuff will try to convince you that, oh, your rep tempo is so important. You'd better watch this article or watch this YouTube on how you're going to totally kill your gains, bro, if you don't have the right tempo. Honestly, it doesn't matter very much. I just sent a Stronger by Science article to someone who reached out to me on YouTube on why your lifting tempo really has no bearing on your gains very much. Doesn't mean it doesn't have its place in some applications, but for building muscle, it doesn't really matter very much. So is it important? Not really. But that article, if the headline is catchy and stuff, will tell you it's urgent. So don't sacrifice the important for the urgent, because they've gotten really good at convincing you that stuff is urgent and that you need to prioritize that over the important. But a framework is all about telling you what is more important. A lot of stuff out there in diet, doom and gloom. A lot of stuff out, seed oils, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a damn. Is it important? No. If it was, we would have figured it out by now. We've done science and research and analytical studies and meta-analyses and stuff to see if it really is important. You know what they found? It's not. But again, there's someone on social media doing the doom and gloom thing, trying to convince you that it's important when all they want to do is actually convince you what they have to say is urgent. So you give them your attention, your control. Matt Scream saying, Matt, is there such a thing as resting, quote, too much or too long between sets? Like 15 minutes plus between sets. My goal is trying to beat the reps, my last set with proper form. Thanks. Very good question. Very good question. Okay, so here's another framework opportunity, right? Framework I give people is rest enough so that you can get what you want out of the next set. Most of the time, that means hit it really hard. So here's the thing you may observe. If you do not have enough rest, then you're going to come into that set relatively fatigued. So you just can't push it very hard. So you're like, okay, I rested like 20 seconds and I'm just kind of out of breath and I can't really do much. Okay. Were you able to bring as much as you can into that if you rested longer? Nah, I'd probably be better off longer. Okay, good. But my man is asking, can you rest too much? Well, here's what you might observe. It's like, yeah, I go and I start doom scrolling and I go to the bathroom and I update my spreadsheets at work and I do 100 other things, right? And then I come back to the exercise. How do you think you're going to feel if you really rest a long period of time? I can't speak for you, but I know how I'm going to feel. My muscles are going to be like, dude, what are we doing this again? Oh, man, I thought we were done with this. Oh, man, we got to get amped up again. Oh, we got to ramp up. No, I'm going to feel cold. I'm going to feel kind of depressed for the engagement of that. You probably notice, like, a lot of times when you're doing an exercise, the second set is stronger because your nervous system ramped up. You got fired up. Your muscles kind of got a little bit more of that attention to them. And that's, again, double tap training is all about that, is making sure you get that second set. That's why for most people, your second set is your most productive set. In most cases, not always. But if you wait too long, that can happen. You cool down. Your attention is off. This is why, your phone and doom scrolling can be the ultimate kryptonite into your workout, because the tension in your muscles that's creating that stimulus is coming from your brain, your focus, your concentration. If your focus and concentration is on this phone in your hand, guess where it's getting taken from? In your workout, in your set that you're doing. So that's why a lot of times, usually, again, the 2 to 3 rule, 2 to 3 minutes for a rest period works for most people. Depends on the exercise, depends on a lot of things. But yeah, don't rest so much that you start to cool down, you start to calm down, you start to feel like you're cooling off, as it were. And then you do your next set and you're like, oh gosh, ugh. That can happen if you rest too long. Not to mention that it can make your workout forever too. I used to know a guy, no joke. He used to come into the gym and work out, in quotes, for 3 hours. One day I was just kind of a cheeky little guy, and I had a stopwatch because it was one of these gyms that could observe the entire gym from one vantage point, big open floor plan and all. And I had a stopwatch. I'm like, I'm going to just click the stopwatch every time he's actually working. In that 3 hours, he was actually productive and actually exercising for 12 minutes because he was not even like resting or anything. He wasn't like he was stretching. He was on his phone the entire time, which was kind of impressive. This is before smartphones. He was on his actual, like, talking to people phone. It's like, what are you doing? But in that 3 hours, he only had 12 minutes of actual work. So, was he able to put a lot into those sets? Absolutely not. Not to mention he was distracted the whole time. So it's definitely one of those things that you want to be aware of, but that's what a framework gives you. This is my framework. This is my objective. Being able to put a lot of energy into a set. Well, what happens if you rest 5 minutes? Oh, that didn't feel so good. There's your answer. Oh, it felt better if I rest for about 2 minutes. There's your answer. Feedback tells you so much more than you're ever going to get off internet, social media, podcasts, even AI. Because what is AI doing? It's basing everything off of experience. This information we've fed it into the internet. I was talking with a guy yesterday at work about how he's using this AI personal trainer, and he's like, it's been working out great. And he tells me how it works. I forget the name of it or whatever, but it's like, of course it's working great. You feed it what you're doing, it's learning from your experience and then going off of that. Of course it's going to work great. You can just do the same. You don't need AI for that. I did it this way. Seemed to work great. Good, do that. I did it this way. Wasn't so good. There you go. There's your answer. It's that sort of thing. Aqua Hero was saying, need to lose 30 pounds, but what is the point of training during the diet so I can't build muscle in 750 calorie a day deficit? Lots of benefit, my friend. Tons of benefit. First and foremost, don't assume you can't build muscle on that kind of a deficit. I will say it's probably unlikely. The research has shown repeatedly that you can build muscle in a deficit, especially if you haven't been training very much to begin with. It is possible. So that may still be in the realm of possibility. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it is technically possible. Second of all, strength can still be achieved. So strength is a lot of times very much about your nervous system. So you can absolutely build strength. Third is about maintaining muscle, especially when you're in a aggressive deficit like what you are. Your body is very happy to get rid of muscle, especially if you're not working it. And this is why a lot of times in the old days, like dietary approaches would tell you don't work out whatever you do, because they actually wanted you to lose muscle because it looked better on the scale, to convince you that the diet was working because you're losing muscle. So maintaining muscle, if anything, should be a top priority for you right now whenever you're trying to lose body fat. Third is improving your ability to do the exercise. Or fourth, sorry, is a lot of times proficiency is at the heart of being able to create a strong stimulus in your workouts. So this is the reality that a lot of people don't want to face, is that if you work out over the course of a year or many years, you're not going to be able to put yourself in a good chance of building muscle most of the time. I know it's a hard truth to accept, but most of the time, you're not going to be building muscle, even without a deficit, because that's just how the body is. Muscle building, especially as you get more advanced, is so much slower. Most guys, after 5-6 years of training, will be happy to build 2 to 3 pounds of muscle a year. Okay, so you're just not going to build muscle in most scenarios anyway. But there's a lot of benefit of maintaining muscle, improving proficiency, improving strength, getting comfortable with it. And the more comfortable you are with your exercise, the better the chances are of building muscle when you do start eating more. So does it make sense to keep lifting when you're trying to lose body fat? Absolutely. 100%. So definitely keep working out. Doesn't need to be a lot and everything, but definitely work out. Plus, you burn calories lifting too. Absolutely. I'm sure there's research out there. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's research out there that has shown that people who lift while losing body fat retain more muscle and lose more total fat. I'm sure it's out there. Just because, especially if you're like 750 calorie deficit, but you're saying body, keep this muscle, maintain this muscle mass. It's like, well, I guess we got to take more from fat then, don't we? Isn't that what we want? So yeah, definitely keep lifting. Keep lifting. If your deficit is pretty aggressive, you may not feel as strong just because you're not eating very much. You're not going to fuel and support your metabolic rate enough to feel like you're strong in the gym. It's perfectly fine. If you're like, oh, I usually can do 10 pull-ups and now I can only get 6, fine, great. Doesn't mean your workout's not effective or anything like that. Just get your 6. Get your 6. Because I promise you start going back, or if you're doing like my calorie hacking approaches where you're going back into more of a calorie maintenance kind of thing after several weeks or a month or so, your numbers are going to shoot up like crazy too, and you're going to hit PRs like crazy. So you can also look at it this way. Do you want, when you go back into calorie maintenance, do you want to spend 3 to 5 months getting back to the strength and muscle that you lost? Or do you want to spend 2 to 3 weeks getting back there? Because if you don't lift, you're going to lose a lot more, and it's going to take you longer to reclaim it. But if you do lift, you're not going to lose nearly as much, if anything, and you're going to hit the ground running again. So do it for your future self, if nothing else. All right, folks, I am going to vamoose here. Thank you so much for coming on in. Don't forget, all the books that I mentioned: Beautiful Strength, Calisthenics to Look and Feel Your Best, Bodyweight Training, Martial Arts, Progressive Weighted Calisthenics. Everything's available down below at the RDP bookstore. Other sponsors: Into the AM, awesome shirts to show off your beautiful strength, and Anthem Athletics and stuff. That's all available over at reddeltaproject.com. Very helpful, helps to support the channel and stuff. And also, if you want to lend your support, 5-star reviews, things like that on your podcast directory of choice, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing, because it does seemingly help the channel. So it is greatly appreciated as well. So thank you very much, everybody. I will probably talk to you next week. And if you have questions, direct them all over to me, reddeltaproject@gmail.com. Talk to you then. Until then, be fit and live free.